Hello, I'm Robin Leach. Welcome to another star-studded edition of John Santo's The Radio, the #1 radio show in all the world, in a poll conducted by the independent polling firm Santo Analytics. Now, here's your host of The Radio, John Santo. Thank you very much, Robin Leach, for that beautiful intro. Welcome to episode 11 of The Radio. And I have a very special guest co-host in the studio with me tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome...
I am Fat Jay, and it's a pleasure to be here, Mr. Santo. Thank you to Robin Leach. I had that special request, and he's amazing. I love that voice.
Isn't Robin Leach terrific?
He's phenomenal.
I'll tell you a true story. My friend, I was at a tennis club back in college. Right? I've been doing Robin Leach a long time. His accountant was a member of that club. We see him in the club. He goes, "That's Robin Leach's accountant." So I go up to him from behind. I go, "Hello, Phil. How are you?" He turned around, thought it was him.
Oh, that's sick.
So that's the best
that is
compliment that impressionists can get, is when somebody that really knows the person is fooled by it.
Absolutely.
There's no better compliment.
That's crazy. Well, you're good. You're good at it. And you're one of my favorites. And I was when we did the last show together, I was telling Butera, I was like, there's that guy never... You're just always on point, and they love you every time I've seen you. So
thank you, and you too. I mean, I had to follow you at that show we did at that restaurant, and I'm like, holy shit, Fat Jay's like, he's killing it up there.
Thank you.
You were amazing that night.
I'm trying.
Because I had never seen you do that long of a set. I've seen you do shorter sets, but you were the feature act that night, and you did a very long set, solid the whole time, folks. Jay was killing it the entire time.
I'm trying to add in some new stuff, work on.
You own that crowd.
I try.
That was incredible.
That place is a good place.
That's a good place. It's in Farmingdale. What is the name of that? The Turning Point.
The Turning Point. Yep, that's a great place. Spot. I like that place.
Amanda's the producer, and she does a great job packing the place in. And yeah, I've performed there twice.
Me too.
Both times. Yeah, you were on both shows.
Yep.
Packed.
Except for the 2 seats in the crowd that the media will tell you.
The sons of bitches in the media, they always show you the 2 empty seats.
Yep.
Yeah, he's doing an event either tonight or tomorrow. That the venue holds 7,400 people. They got 100,000 ticket requests.
That's crazy.
That's crazy. I can't even get people to come to my shows.
It's so tough hard. Begging. Oof,
well, the winter's tough. The winter's tough to people to come out.
Yeah, summer's tough. Winter's tough. There's no good time.
No good time.
When the summer, I want to go by the water. Right. Why don't you do a show by the water?
I've heard every... But you know what I just do? I just put up my shows. People used to... You don't have to explain. Just come when you want. Now, what's weird is I have some friends from high school that have seen me 4, 5, 6, 7 times. Then I have other people that live sometimes right near the venue and never come.
Never come. It's crazy.
It's crazy. But as long as I'm lucky. I only have one person that constantly asks me when I'm performing. Most people, they just come when they can come. They see the schedule and they just come when they can come, and that's great. And sometimes I like to know in advance if they're coming, so I make sure I see them.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I just want to get right out after the show and get them. I'm kidding. But it's always nice to know that they're coming. But then this one guy always asks me, though. He's the one guy, when are you doing your next show? When are you doing your next show?
And it never comes.
Never comes. It took 20-plus years. He finally came to a show. Right? I'm like, finally, now I have nobody. Right? I've released that albatross from around my neck. And you know what he said? Hey, that was worth the wait. When's your next one? I'm like, no, I still have him.
It's crazy. It's a crazy world. It
really is a crazy world. But most people, thank you for coming to our shows when you can come.
Absolutely.
Just try to come. I'm not getting any younger either. I might only have I don't even know how many years left.
It's true. I want to do it for a long time, hopefully,
I have to go to DMV tomorrow. And
pure torture.
Well, I have an idea. Yeah.
What's the idea?
So I have a friend who's Asian. And I'm going to bring him and just have him cough. And then I think
good
with
one.
The corona,
That's a good one. That's a good one.
And we'll both be coughing.
Coronas.
Yeah. So I'm gonna buy him lunch and I'll give him a gift card to Amazon.
That's a great idea.
But that's gonna save me a lot of time.
Wear like the surgical mask.
I got the surgical mask. I already ordered the surgical. I got the surgical mask already.
This way, yeah, that's perfect.
The other idea, if he can't make it, I'm just gonna wear an ice windbreaker. And then that'll clear.
Oh, they're not going to like you at all.
That'll clear. You know what? Too bad. They're here illegally. There should be a separate line for taxpayers.
This is true.
And for citizens.
This is true. You could. I agree with that. That's a good thought.
That's ridiculous. First of all, they should have waited until, because we covered the Real ID law here. From now until October 20th, people can board a plane with a standard license. Now they won't qualify for a Real ID if they don't have if they're not American citizens.
The enhanced ID.
Enhanced or the Real ID, right? Both of them are Real ID compliant. But from now until October 1st, when that rule kicks in,
they can fly anywhere.
They can fly. So that means the terrorists might be able to get on a plane, which is terrible. Very bad idea.
It's crazy.
And that law was passed in 2004 after the 9/11 Commission.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So that's just stupid to, if the federal government really wanted to be tough, they could say any state that's not, issuing to illegal aliens, we're not accepting any of your licenses early.
Okay.
And then you got to fly with a passport.
I just wish the federal government would just legalize the weed already.
The weed?
The weed.
Why the weed?
Why not? It's here for me and you.
They would tax it, too. They'd make a fortune. I bought a marijuana stock, and it went down. I thought marijuana stocks always stayed high.
Nice one. Yeah. Depends on how much time you use it there, buddy.
I guess so. I was pissed. It went down. I'm like, I thought this was the latest thing.
It is the latest thing, and these companies are killing it.
I also bought a stock called Beyond Meat.
You
were telling me about that stock.
That's a big one.
I bought it. I made some money, but I got out. Then it went down. Now it's back up again. Today, with the whole market being down, that was the only stock that was up.
I'll tell you the truth, though.
On my
if
watch
Beyond Meat, if they sign with McDonald's, like Impossible signed with Burger King, or Taco Bell, that stock is going to go through the roof. That stock will go up.
Now, we do not recommend this is speculative. We do not provide financial advice on the radio.
Let me tell you about Beyond
opinion.
Meat. As
but Jay's going to keep going and recommend the stock, even though we don't.
I'm not going to recommend the stock.
We don't recommend.
I don't know where it's going. I'm just a fat guy that does stand up.
We just know food.
For we
know food.
I'm vegan. We're vegan at home. So
you're vegan?
Yes, we're vegan.
Really? What is a vegan?
You don't eat meat or meat products.
Oh, so Beyond Meat, you're a customer.
We're absolutely customers.
Oh, okay.
It is phenomenal. One of the best. The Impossible Burger, Beyond Meat Burger is phenomenal. When they first came out, my girlfriend saw it, Whole Foods. There was like one left. She took it. We tried it. It was phenomenal. It was a real deal burger, legit. And then they came out with sausages, and those are good too. As a fat Italian guy, I like my sausages.
Sure, the sausages.
So yeah, you can get it. They're everywhere, Stop and Shop and everything. But they needed an influx of cash, and it blew up, and that's how big it is.
Wow. Well, we'll see what happens.
If they sign with McDonald's, if whoever signs McDonald's, their stock is going to go through the roof.
Right. We should say this is speculative, and we don't really know what's going to happen.
Of course.
People should do their own research, and we don't recommend any particular
without a doubt
stock, except I will recommend stocks that I need to go up. So please buy Seadrill, buy SDRL, buy Rig, which is transoceanic. Those are speculative offshore drilling stocks that I own that are going down that I need to go up. So I'm telling you to buy them so I can sell them, and then you could lose the money, and then I'll make the money. That's really what all those financial shows are about.
Absolutely.
I think they're all lying bastards. You really got to do your own research.
Kramer was that guy.
I don't want to say anybody because they have very large legal departments.
Oh, this is
we
true.
don't. The bottom line is the fundamentals. Everybody should do their own research. Absolutely.
Even
and
if
read
you're buying
common investment advice, like in Money Magazine, those kinds of places.
We're just two fat guys hanging out.
We're just two fat guys that really don't know which way the market's going to go. But we know we eat a lot, and we know we buy a lot of stock. Yesterday, our top story, lead story, very tragic accident yesterday.
Horrible.
Helicopter crash. Now, I have to confess, I didn't post anything about the people involved because I got to be honest with you. I don't follow basketball. I didn't know much about Kobe Bryant at all. I'd heard the name only. I thought he played for the Nets. I had no clue.
Really?
I'm not being funny. I'm just saying I really didn't know anything about him. I know I don't know who Michael Jordan played for. Does he still play?
Michael Jordan does not play.
I
He
have
owns,
no
I think,
idea who these
the
people are.
Hornets, the Charlotte team.
If basketball, hockey, and soccer disappeared off the face of the earth, I wouldn't know for months. Maybe he is.
I got into basketball strictly because my nephew's a basketball fan.
Mm-hmm.
And as you know, like Kobe, he used basketball to bond with his 13-year-old daughter,
Right.
who also
Yeah, I learned
died.
a lot about him over the past day. But like, I'm not being disrespectful. I just didn't know
Absolutely.
anything about. I don't know anything about. I only follow baseball and football, so I don't know anything about.
He was,
I would say,
in my opinion, I would say he was the equivalent of Jeter
of
for
basketball.
the NBA.
See, now that makes sense to me. Now I understand.
And
you put it in baseball.
Yeah,
terms.
so he was the face. He was, it was Jordan, Kobe, and now it's LeBron type thing.
Is Larry Bird still? Is he still?
Come on,
playing?
Larry.
No, I know
Bird's
that.
not
I know that
playing.
one's all. But I don't know. I really don't know. We have a basketball hoop at the house. I play it with my son, but I don't follow. The only two sports I follow professionally is baseball and football.
I'll be honest, it's tough to follow. They play, I think, 48 minutes. 43 minutes means nothing. It all comes down to the last 5 minutes.
I do like the buzzer shots on TV.
Absolutely, I'm with you on that.
But as far as, I have an aviation background, so as far as people ask me about the accident, they didn't understand. And a lot of people want the accident results immediately.
Of course.
And I said, I took aircraft accident investigation for my bachelor's degree in aeronautics. And I'm very knowledgeable about that. I used to work for Aviation Week. I met Bob Francis, who's the vice chair, was the vice chair, National Transportation Safety Board. Met him many times, had lunch with him, heard him speak about aviation safety. Great guy. He did the Flight 800 investigation.
Okay.
96 out here. I met him at the Oshkosh Air Show a few years later, and was talking to him about a lot. I thanked him for doing all the work, the valuable work the NTSB does to find out why these accidents occur and prevent the next one. But they basically will break down any accident into 8 different areas. One is operations, the history of the flight, the history of the aircraft. Number 2 would be structures. They want to know all about the airframe, the wreckage. They're going to look at maintenance logs or anything to do with the structure of the aircraft. The airframe. Then number 3 would be power plants, engine systems. Those are going to be looked at by an engine team. Each one of these areas is a separate team.
Wow.
It's a lead investigator from the NTSB with a specialty in that area, plus the manufacturers, the operators, an airline or a private person, whoever owns and operates the aircraft. 4 is systems, the hydraulics, the electrical system. I think avionics is included in that. Then they look at air traffic control. Number 5 is ATC. What services was the aircraft getting? Now, I saw the actual replay of the ATC tape. And the aircraft looked like, I saw it. I posted a visual on my Facebook. The aircraft was at like 1,400 feet, 130 knots. Air traffic control radioed the aircraft and said, you're squawking 1,200, which is a standard VFR. It's not an assigned code that they give you where you're under special flight following.
Okay.
And that they were too low for the flight following services. Right after that, the aircraft looks like it climbs to 1,900 feet, but it drops to 110 knots from 130, and then it went to 2,100 feet, and then they lost contact. So I don't know if they were trying to climb.
I do know last night I was watching the news reports, and ABC was actually being played on ESPN, and they had the NTSB going, and they needed to preserve.
Yes,
they had
to
cops
everything,
blocking off the whole.
Because they're going to look at all that metal. They're going to bring that back to a lab and look at all the metallurgy and everything. So I think my caller was trying to call in, Bobby. He commented he was trying to call in. And then they're going to look at the weather. So we know it was foggy. We know that the weather was. We don't know if the weather played a part in it. I mean, you can't. So the first rule of accident investigation is never go on a hunch, because then the evidence is going to go where you think you're going to ignore the real evidence. So you have to look at everything independently. Even though the weather was bad, the weather could have been a factor, may not have been a factor. For all we know, the pilot had a heart attack. We don't know. It's all speculative. And then they're going to look at number 7 is human performance. They're going to look at all of the different factors, including fatigue, medication, alcohol. They're going to look at all of that for the entire flight. These are not unique to this accident. These are standard things that they would do in any accident. And the eighth one is survival factors. They're going to look at the at the impact angle. I'm sorry, that was under structures. They look at the impact angles, and then it also plays into the survival factors. What kind of rescue or lack of rescue would have been available depending on what happened and where it happened. How remote was the.
They said they
a lot
couldn't
of
get to
people
the plane
survived
because there was a brush fire.
a brush
too.
fire, right? So a lot of times it's. There have been accidents that have happened in remote areas where everybody survived the initial accident, but some people died of exposure or some other factor later on, like that plane that crashed in the Andes Mountains. They died of frostbite.
Yeah.
But they survived. A lot of them survived the actual impact of the aircraft.
Phone lines are working. What numbers is he calling?
I gave him 945-9099.
I just checked. He's working.
It's working.
Tell him to call again. He's not coming through.
All right.
I just called my phone. Went right through.
Call back if you're calling.
Call back, Rudy.
Call back.
Rudy, phone is working.
So yeah, it's devastating news. It's torturous for the family. I mean, he does have 3 surviving kids and his wife.
Yeah, the tragic part of it was, but I was just trying to. And then there was something that. So Tom Murphy is a comic.
Yes.
He's also a captain for a major airline.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he flies. I believe he flies Airbus.
Okay.
He said that the aircraft was operating under special VFR, tried to climb above the layer, so that looks like what I saw in the ATC tape. So that jives.
Wow.
I did hear this on the radio, and Tom confirmed that LAPD did ground their fleet.
Yes.
Because of the weather. So the weather was 2.5 mile visibility with ceilings 1,100 feet.
Wow.
And we don't want to speculate because these investigations could take a year or two. Easily,
Absolutely.
To conclude. But that's why, the media and a lot of people are rushing to what did it, what happened. These can take a very long time to investigate. Based on those 8 different areas that all have to be looked into independently of each other.
As people in the with all the social media, the press nowadays, people are speculating, jumping right away. Oh, it's this, it's that, it's
and
this.
they always ask the NTSB people what happened. I'm like, if you follow these accidents, it's days, weeks, months, years before information becomes available. So
Yeah, we're
why
not
do
gonna
they have to ask that question? Just know that if I was an NTSB investigator, I would just have it on a tape. These
Yeah,
things take
exactly.
whatever. Why are we talking about it? So the one thing that comes up, and I remember my flight instructors telling me about this years ago, is sometimes the court. Now we're not saying that this is the case. We don't know. For all we know, the pilot could have said, "No way, we're not going," because the weather was bad. But some corporate pilots, when they fly, high-profile people, executives, or entertainers, are under pressure. Oh, I got to get there. I got to be at this event. Is it really that bad? The smart ones, I know a few corporate pilots that their bosses have said, nobody in this company, you're the final authority. I don't care who the person is that's in the back, any of my subordinates or whatever, you determine if the flight's going to go or not. I don't care what the schedule is. I don't care what the factors are. You're in charge of the aircraft from safety. Now, most pilots know that, but some might be pressured. Oh, come on, it's not that bad, but we don't know that that's the case. But that's going to be looked at, too. They call it the go fever, where people are, anxious to go.
Absolutely.
And did that play a part? I know they looked at that with the JFK Jr. thing because he had to get to a wedding. So I'm not saying that happened here. We don't know. For all we know, the pilot thought, maybe it was safe enough and it wasn't a concern. But that's something that they'll probably interview people and try to determine.
Yeah, it's so horrible, but you hear about these things more and more with the stars. Obviously, they're a small percentage of the population, but when it happens to them,
I checked twice. It's coming up. Does he have the right area code?
when it happens to them, it
949-9099. What?
945-9099.
945. That's why. Okay.
we have a typo, ladies and gentlemen.
We have a typo.
We have a typo.
Okay, now we know. Now we got it.
So I've been watching the Aaron Hernandez documentaries. I don't know what happened, but this guy's popped up on every network right now. Netflix.
He was the Patriots guy.
He was the Patriots guy.
I don't know who that was.
It was him.
That was him, right?
The tight end for the Patriots.
Gonna make sure I know what I'm doing here.
That's a crazy situation. He too has a wife and daughter that he left behind. And they're trying to make someone's getting paid off of it. I don't know who, but they put it on the ID channel, which is, the weirdo channel that the murders
channel,
and stuff. Not
Yeah.
weirdo, but just
There's a couple of channels I wish I could get rid of.
yeah, they just talk about murders and all that. So they had them on Netflix and all the others.
So now that Rudy's going to try to call him to talk about the Kobe Bryant, here he comes. Now we're going to have an investigation as to did I typo the wrong number to him or did he
You
type
did.
Could have been me.
Yeah, hi, this is Rudy Fusco.
I'm married 22 years. This isn't the first time I'd be wrong. Hi, Rudy. Now, Rudy Fusco, thank you for joining us here on the radio. Rudy Fusco is a pilot who might have some insights for us. Rudy, welcome to the radio. You're on with Fat Jay and John Santo.
How are you,
Thank
sir?
you very much.
Rudy,
How
what
you
can you
doing,
tell
fellas?
us?
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead, Rudy. Deliver your report, please.
Okay. I think the first mistake that the pilot made was not filing an instrument flight plan. All right, that would do a number of things. Number one, it takes into account certain weather conditions, especially the low cloud cover and the short distance of visual acuity he has, the obscuration, lack of visibility. Okay? Now, it also dictates to the pilot a specific angle of attack. By that I mean his rate of climb and the direction of climb. All right? And it also takes into account structures, elevation of surrounding structures near the airport and on the route of flight. All those things are taken into account. You don't really have to look out the window under IFR. You can't see anything under those soupy conditions. So if he enters it, he can avoid all these other obstructions if he follows the flight plan. Now, the flight plan is one of the things it's based on, and you know this well, John. In either IFR or VFR flight, the barometric pressure has a big effect on the altimeter setting, which is your altitude.
Right.
Now, if the pilot had filed IFR, he could have avoided a lot of obstructions. It would have been a much more structured flight. And barring a mechanical failure, his flight would have went as planned. Now, the mechanical failures that could have happened, it could have been anything, right? It also could have been a health event from the pilot, too. But don't forget, pilots who fly commercial and fly people, they undergo what's called a flight medical, a Class 1 flight medical. Mm-hmm. And this is very strict, and they do it every 6 months. So that's not a likely event. If anything, I would say an error in pilotage was the most common likely cause of this event. Secondary would be a mechanical failure. Now, there are things that are some of the military aircraft and some of the larger civilian aircraft have. They're called Class 4 landing systems. So, in other words, I don't know if this helicopter had it. It's a pretty big helicopter. Right?
Yeah, it was an S-76.
But some of the more valuable aircraft have landing systems that would allow a remote override of the pilot's controls in the event of incapacitation of the flight crew for one reason or another, and allow the aircraft to be landed remotely, the same way they do it with drones.
Now, Rudy, I did see that there were, how many people were on there were 8?
There were 8 plus the pilot, I believe.
So that was 9. Now, I looked at the seating configuration of that particular aircraft. There were 2 captain's seats, rotating, nice seats, and then a bench seat. Now, the bench seat, I think, could only hold 4. Then there was 5, 6 in the other. Maybe somebody was riding up front with the pilot, but I don't know how they got 9 people on a helicopter.
I don't know.
Because I saw the seating.
If they were overweight, that's also a factor.
Yeah, if they were overweight, but I'm like, how could nobody's going to take off with that many people not buckled in? Like, where were they sitting? I don't think that bench, even with smaller people, I don't think it could fit.
I saw a
6 on the
picture of
bench.
him in a helicopter, and he said it was that one. It had like a footrest, which turned into a seat.
Oh, that might be a seat too. Oh, so
So-
maybe you can fit 3. Still, I think that's a lot of. S-76 isn't that big.
Let let me comment again on mechanical failure for a second.
Yep.
Often, not always, but usually, when there's a mechanical failure in the propulsion system, the helicopter will do what's called auto-rotate, and you can have a controlled descent, at least if you can see where you're going.
Right. And if he descended into the fog,
direct down. That's not into his side of the hill. That's supposed to be down.
Right.
So maybe if it was a mechanical failure, maybe he had no choice, and maybe because he couldn't see that far in front of him, he went into the front of the hill, but not directly into a hill. It would have been in a downward motion.
Right. See, that's why.
So I think he flew into the hill. Because he couldn't see. That's what I think.
That's why the NTSB looks at all these things, because even though the weather might look like the obvious thing, like Rudy said, that you might have a combination of factors. No one thing might be enough to cause an accident, but a series of contributory factors, this plus this plus this, leads to the accident.
Yeah. Now, do these helicopters have black boxes like planes do?
Rudy, do you know if the S-76 has a flight data recorder and a cockpit voice recorder?
I believe it does.
It does.
However, I just want to draw a parallel here.
Yeah.
When things start going downhill, so one good thing goes wrong, and then maybe a second thing goes wrong, the pilot can become overstressed out trying to deal with these things. Okay.
Right.
Now, that's what happened with JFK.
Right.
He was flying. He had no IFR training at all, and he flew into heavy, obscure fog conditions at night. Now, under VFR, you're trained to fly at night. But under IFR, you're also trained to trust your instruments. But if you don't know that because you're not trained for IFR, even if you took some training, it would have been something. Mm-hmm. You follow those. He had what's called static instruments on that flight. It didn't have the computerized units they have now, but it's a ball. It's a ball in solution. Right, and it responds to gravity. It tells you if your wings are level. It tells you if you're going up, because it tells you if you're going down. You have all these controls. If you don't know how to read them, you could be going sideways down into the water, and you think you're going straight.
Yep.
That's called vertigo. Right now, if he had a number of circumstances which caused him to lose his concentration, and he went into flight conditions where he didn't realize that he was going in a different direction and going up, going down, that complicates things, and it's too late. You can't come out of that because your various alarms, your stall alarm may not go off because you're not really in a stall situation. You're heading straight, you're heading down.
Right.
Now, this pilot had IFR training. In order for him to be a commercial helicopter pilot, he had to be IFR rated. To carry passengers for hire, he's got to be IFR rated with at least 1,000 hours. At least 1,000 hours of flight time.
In that type of aircraft, right?
I'm sorry? You would also need a certain amount of time in the aircraft to transition to that aircraft.
In that aircraft.
But chances are he started with a much smaller aircraft.
Right. Yeah, and then he graduates up. Well, thank you very much, Rudy. We have to move on to our next segment, but those are great insights, and I didn't hear any of that kind of stuff in the regular media.
Absolutely
We have the
not.
best guests here on the radio. That's why we're the #1 radio show in the world, based on a poll conducted by the independent polling firm Santo Analytics.
Well, that's very funny. Well, actually, there's a rumor going around that this particular segment is going to be nominated for a special award.
Which one?
Those of the audience who are listening, man, and I've heard this rumor because I only started it about a half hour ago.
Well, thank you very much for calling in, Rudy. We do appreciate it.
I'll let you go.
That was a great report from Rudy Fusco, who's a very experienced pilot. Did you were just like, you were like taking all that in. That was amazing.
This was a lot of information for the fat guy.
Now, I was a pilot, and I learned a lot. You know, Rudy brought up some very good points in his report.
I have to tell you, John,
Rudy.
as a fat guy, I don't like planes.
You don't like planes?
Well,
I don't.
Just because I don't fit in them.
You don't fit in them very well.
You know?
What about a larger plane, though? A bigger plane?
Well, hopefully one day I'll be able to fly, like private. That would be nice.
When I make enough money in show business, I'm going to buy a very nice private aircraft, and I will have a special seat made for you.
That's what I'm talking about.
That'll say Fat Lives Matter.
I'm in for that. Absolutely.
You want to tell the folks about Fat Lives Matter?
Fat Lives Matter. I want to bring. So I am Fat Jay, and I do Fat Lives Matter to bring awareness to, life as a fat guy. Everyone, as being fat, people always, make fun of you. If the chair's broken, like if I broke this chair, Bobby tomorrow is going to be like, that fat bastard.
Meanwhile, it could have structural metal fatigue.
But meanwhile,
that was defective from the factory, and no matter who sat it, it was going to break.
Or
right?
There could be those circumstances like the helicopter.
Well, we have to
investigate. Could have been
investigate.
broken a little bit to begin with. Mechanical failure, weather, moisture in the air. Boom. But
Could have been defective metal from the factory.
That too.
And that failure was going to happen at a predetermined time, regardless of who happened to be in the chair.
Exactly. But
right? We can't jump to conclusions.
That's exactly it. Right. And as a fat guy, we get picked on, laughed at. If I walk on the beach with my shirt off, everyone's going to stop and stare. Not because it's a beautiful sight to look at,
right.
But that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to bring awareness and poke fun of the whole thing of being fat. That's my goal.
Now, I have had, I know it's hard to believe, but I've had some weight issues myself.
Absolutely.
I actually went to Weight Watchers, and I thought I was doing well. I'd lost a few pounds the first week. I went in for week 2.
That's water weight.
Water weight, right. So I went into a later week. I don't remember what week. It doesn't matter. Went into a later week. And I thought I was down about 2 pounds. Well, I thought I lost. So I go in there and I said, "How did I do?" She goes, "You gained 2 pounds."
Wow.
So here I go in psychologically. I lost.
Feeling good,
right? Can't wait to see the number. 2 pound increase. So she goes, I'm just standing there staring at it. She goes, "Sir, are you okay?" I turn into Ving Rhames from Pulp Fiction. I go, "Nah, man, I'm pretty freaking far from okay." Remember Pulp Fiction?
I do. Yeah, that's a great impression right there.
Thank you. That's because I had too many Whoppers with cheese.
That's it. And
or too many French fries, or too much of this, or too much of that, and it made me fat. 2 pounds.
Makes me fat too.
Isn't that a good Ving Rhames?
That is a good Ving
Nobody
Rhames.
does Ving Rhames.
Nobody does him. I like that.
Thank you.
You do ones that, you do your Tony Soprano's phenomenal.
Well, thank you very much.
I
love doing Tony Soprano.
I love my family loves all your impressions.
Really?
And you were in a local newspaper here.
When was it in the paper?
What?
When was it in the paper?
The Newsday article.
Oh, the documentary when I did the Trump thing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, right, yes.
Like that's big. That's nice.
That
man.
was huge. That was a big deal. A very big deal.
And that's good. That's
I
we're
had a
all looking
blast.
for something like that.
I had a blast doing that, and I have to thank John LaRocchi of Laughter Saves Lives and Paul Anthony from the Long Island Comedy Festival and Theater 3 in Port Jeff for allowing us to film there, because that documentary, we filmed it over a year we filmed it. So I had this reporter from Newsday with me. He filmed me at a Laughter Saves Live show. Then we did a Theater 3 show, and we filmed downstairs at Theater. I did a one-on-one with him.
Oh, in the interviews,
the interview. So it was fun to do
Absolutely.
that. It was a lot of fun.
That's good, and it's it's nice to see as a guy who's new in the business that any publicity is good publicity. You have that for your records.
And he found, I don't even know how he found me. He wouldn't say, he just said, "Oh yeah, we're looking for Trump impressionists." Then you came up, I don't know who told them about, if there's somebody out there that told him about me, thank you. I don't know who it is.
And it's a great thing because you really do good impressions.
Thank you.
Your whole comedy, I happen to love it, and that's what it's about.
I'm working on a James Bond movie that takes place on Long Island. And I'm working on doing Pierce Brosnan and Roger Moore. You a Bond fan?
Well, I'm not a fan, but I grew up watching.
You grew up watching the Bond. All right, so let me. These are brand new impressions.
Okay, do
I'm gonna run them by you. Tell me what you think. If they're bad, they're bad. We don't. So, Roger Moore. Yes, Minister, I have a few minutes to catch that flight to Mumbai, India.
That's a good one.
Needs a little work. And when the guy goes, "Spend the money quickly, Mr. Bond," he goes, "And you too, Kamal Khan."
Those are good.
Not bad, right?
Yeah, those are good.
Workable?
Absolutely.
Okay. And here's Pierce Brosnan. The name is Bond. James Bond. Tell your friend that the license plates on this year's models start with a Z, even the counterfeit ones. And then the Russian woman goes, and what rank do you hold with the Department of Motor Vehicles, Mr. Bond? Commander. I love the way he's got that wise-ass, snarky answer.
What was
Commander?
the
That was GoldenEye.
Who was the big fat Asian guy? Because that's who I can play.
The big fat Asian guy.
Remember him in the...
That's who it was, the big fat Asian guy.
What's his name? Blockhead or
Oh,
something?
no, oh, crap. And I'm a Bond expert, too. I love Bond. Not Blofeld.
Maybe it was.
Odd Job. Odd Job.
Yes.
From, was that done? Oh, I can't. The early ones I'm a little hazier on than the newer ones.
Those are, you see, that's what I watched.
It was one of the Sean Connery pictures.
Yes.
But which one? Was it Thunderball? Or was it? No, it was Goldfinger. Goldfinger. Yes. I was
those,
there.
Those early movies were good. What was the other one? With Are you a Charles Bronson fan?
A little bit. Yeah, I saw him in Death Wish.
Yeah, Death Wish. That was the movie. Yep.
Death
those
Wish.
were the movies. Death Wish 1, 2, and 3.
1, 2, and 3.
Those were old school movies.
I like when he beat the shit out of the guy with the roll of quarters in the sock. That's a great thing. But in sports, we got the Super Bowl coming up. Super Bowl 54. Now we're two fat guys. Food Fest.
Absolutely.
A lot of food.
Lot of food. Wings, heroes. I love the heroes.
Yeah, so we're going to...
Do you have a big bash for the Super Bowl?
No, so I go to... I get invited to a bash. I get invited to a couple. In fact, I get... I used to... My wife said this is so tacky. I used to have a shitty TV. And people would invite me to their house, and I would ask them, if you don't mind, could you tell me what kind of TV you have? Because I'm trying to base my... where I'm going to go on the TV, right? So I used to go to my uncle's house and everything, and but I go to a local, and then I watch it. Now my son is older, we watch it together, at home.
Nice.
How about you? Where do you go?
Yeah, I'm staying home. I'm gonna stay home, smoke some.
I used to charge people to come if you want John Santo at your Super Bowl party.
Really?
If you want me for full game. It's $1,000 if I go for halftime. No, I'm kidding.
I would
Imagine that.
It
It includes an autographed football. Please, I don't get that many of it.
Charge it up.
Nah, I'm kidding.
Super Bowl's going to be good this year. Finally, a year with no Patriots in it. I'm happy about that.
No Super Bowl for you, Belichick and Brady. You know what? I was kind of hoping it was Packers Chiefs. That was Super Bowl I in the 100th anniversary of the NFL. And when the Jets and the Giants are out of it, which they always usually are, I kind of become like a Packers fan because I really loved going out there for the Oshkosh Air Show, and it's like a publicly owned team, so it's almost like like a, so I kind of like to see them. That's a religion out there.
Oh, without a doubt,
them.
they're fans. Of
I saw Volkswagen Beetles painted like the helmet. It was great.
That playoff game that they played this year, I mean, it was like 20 degrees there. So
Yeah.
you have to be diehard to be out there in the cold.
They should dome all of their stadiums. It's too cold.
I'm with you.
And this one, so we have Mike Francesa is going to call in to talk about Eli Manning. Isn't that exciting?
I love Francesa. Bring on the Pope.
Mike, are you there? Yes, I'm here. It's great to be on the radio. I love being back on the air. And Eli Manning, Jay, I don't know if you know, retired after 16 years.
I do.
And two-time Super Bowl MVP. Two-time. Only 4 other players in the 53 other Super Bowls that were played were two-time or more Super Bowl MVPs. Bart Starr from the Packers. Terry Bradshaw also won it twice. Joe Montana 3 times. Tom Brady 4 times. Eli Manning. That's it. 5 guys.
Mike, I'm sure you're listening to your old station and stuff. There's a lot of debate of whether or not Eli's a Hall of Famer.
First of all, I think it's a no-brainer. Eli Manning played 16 consecutive seasons. Now, were all of them great years? Of course not. But the total body of work, 2 Super Bowl MVP championships.
And Mike, I know you watch those from the good seats, right on the 50-yard line.
On the 50-yard line.
Row.
Absolutely.
I know, Mike. I know.
Now I met a guy. I root for the Jets. I root for the Giants. I met a guy who said that Eli Manning he was a Jet fan. He said Eli Manning was overrated and that he wouldn't want any part of Eli Manning. I said, okay, let me ask you this. If you could take the last 16 years of the Giants or the last 16 years of the Jets, Which do you pick? You know what this fool said? The Jets.
Of course.
I said, the Jets! They haven't won a Super Bowl since before the moon landing! Are you nuts? Eli Manning delivered 2 championships in 16 years. The Jets haven't won in 50 years.
Mike, don't get worked up. It's late at night. You got to get up early.
What a fool!
How's the driver, Mike? How's the driver?
The drive is excellent.
What's his name? I forgot his name. Gene? I forgot his name. You know, he drives you to the good seats at the stadium. Mike, are you excited for Yankees baseball this year?
Very excited. Garrett Cole, terrific pitcher. He's going to do very well. Garrett Cole, what did I say?
Is he worth the $35 million?
Every penny. Well, first of all, it's the New York Yankees. Just write a check. Write a check, buy the guy, get him on the mound, throw the ball. Okay? It's very simple.
Mike, what do you think of the Astros right now?
Awful, terrible. What a cheating scandal. And don't tell me that Altuve wasn't signaling that he had the buzzer underneath the shirt.
Oh, you're with that, huh?
I am totally on board.
That's why
That he goes into the tunnel, he doesn't celebrate. Why?
Exactly.
Very suspicious. If Detective Columbo was on that field.
Columbo.
Remember Columbo? Fantastic.
I liked Columbo, but I like the other show, Hawaii. Book 'em, Dano.
First of all, Jay, I love you more than ever just now. I just got CBS All Access to watch Star Trek. One of the benefits is the old Hawaii Five-0. Steve McGarrett, undeniably, is the greatest police detective in the history of television. He goes out on Coast Guard cutters. He tells the Pentagon, naval intelligence, even the president to go screw themselves, that it's in Hawaiian territory, and he will make the arrest. He's very powerful.
How's the cutback going for you, Mike? Since you
First of all, I do miss the radio. I miss the callers. I only do a half hour, as you know.
at night, yeah, 6 to 6.
to 6:30.
Right before the schmooze, my man, the schmooze.
Right before the schmooze.
I know you don't like those morning crew guys, Geo and Boomer.
Horrible. They are just awful. And I am the adult. And eventually the keys to the car should go back to the adult.
But as you know, Mike, Boomer was a Jet. He couldn't do that if he, was a Giant.
True.
So.
Boomer's good. Boomer's good. We have to let Mike go. Thank you, Mike, for coming on. Wasn't Mike Francesa?
Mike,
I thought he was going to explode, Jay.
I'll be honest, Mike, man, I can't believe I got to be on the radio and the phone with Mike Francesa tonight.
And Steve Summers will be coming on the show at some point. Actually, I'm here now.
Oh, I love the show.
The Icelanders and the Knickerbockers.
What's his other line? I'm here, you're there, you're here.
I don't even do him. I just tried that. How is it?
I love the schmooze.
Thank you for calling. I appreciate you making it. Isn't that bad? I just did it off the cuff.
He had that old smoker's voice.
Right.
And the voice changed after he had the cancer or whatever.
Hey, thanks for taking the call. Thank you for making it.
Thanks for making it. I
gotta
love
work
the
on him,
schmooze.
but I don't know if a lot of people outside of New York know Francesa and Steve Summers. I don't know. Well, that's why I've been testing it on this show.
I don't know. I'll be honest with you, though. The morning show on The Fan, they're broadcast on CBS.
That's everywhere, right?
That's everywhere. And I think, Francesa did have the FS1 thing for a little bit. I don't know. I'm a big sports radio. You could go in my car and that's what it's on.
Me too. I listen to sports radio all the time.
Were you a Francesa or the other?
So but you know what? I don't like the way he treats the callers. Like the caller would start a question, he'd start like interrupting him. I never like. You know what really bothers me is that it was years ago when Frank Gifford was still alive. That Kathy Lee Gifford, like they'd have somebody on the show, and this is like I'm unfairly singling her out, but she was the most annoying of the bunch. Yep. But all of the TV hosts, when somebody comes on, like an expert on like this year's Christmas toys, they're like, oh, we have this item. And she's like, oh, I got to get that for Frank. Yeah. Oh, can I try it? Shut up. This person drove hours, prepared for months. You're on TV every flipping day. Let the guest speak. Right?
With you.
Is it just me? You noticed that too, right?
I'll be honest. I'm a Michael Kay fan because I watch the Yankees.
Right. Yeah.
And I think I would rather listen to Michael Kay than the radio show of the Yankees, but both of them are knowledgeable. And
Yep.
I'll tell you the truth, I just don't like that it's 3 on Michael Kay. Francesa, yeah, he was, arrogant, rude, and all that.
This show we only have 2.
The show's only.
I only do 2 because I don't want people to, I like to have one special guest co-host that's with me on the show. We do it together.
Absolutely.
And then today we had a special call in. We don't usually do a call in.
We needed that.
That
was good knowledge.
Rudy's perspective was good. One time I had Jack Clunan on the show, episode 3, I think, The Phantom Menace.
We had
Ed Hearn call in, and he called him like right before we went on the air.
As a matter of fact, I met Jack Clunan, I think, for like the second time doing a Laughter Saves Lives show at the VA Hospital in Northport, and he had said he learned public speaking from Ed Hearn, and Jack was nice enough to give me some pointers. I was just starting out.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah.
So yeah, Jack's a great guy, and he's good friends with Ed Hearn actually.
Yeah, he called him right up. I'm like, oh my God, he got him right on the phone.
You're
Huge Met fan.
Yeah.
Love the Mets. Love the Mets.
Yeah, I'm a big Met fan.
yeah. I mean, what do you think of the Beltron thing? So, did you talk about that on your last show?
We didn't really talk too much about it. I think so. It's typical Met. First of all, the typical Mets. The no-brainer hire was Joe Girardi. I got to go back into Francesa. The no-brainer hire was Joe Girardi. Okay, first of all, it was. That was a no-brainer. No-brainer hire. All you had to do, all the fans wanted it. It would have electrified the fan base.
I don't think Brody would have got along with him.
So here's the thing I have with this is not just Brody. This is any GM, any manager, right? In my day job, I'm in the analytics business. I work with a lot of statistical data, and I'm actually looking at baseball. I'm building a dashboard of baseball statistics.
Okay.
That's going to be interactive, that you can filter data in, a lot of data. And what they do is they look at, if you saw the movie Moneyball, they kind of touched on it a little bit.
Yep.
You use code to go through the databases and pull out nuggets of data that you normally wouldn't see. So you see outliers in the statistics. So if you see that a guy is either performing very, extremely well or extremely poorly in a certain condition, you play the odds that that's what's going to happen. However, I was watching a Giant game, right? And they were going for a 2-point conversion. And the announcer's like, the analytics say that you should go for 1 here.
Yeah.
Why are they going for 2? And then Carl Banks chimed in. Did the analytics tell you that the kicker looked like crap in the pregame warm-up and he missed 2 extra points already?
Yep.
So that's where the coach comes in. So even though I'm in analytics, I would never want to tell the manager. I believe the manager should make the call without interference from the front office. That's any team, football, baseball. Give them the data, give them the intelligence, give them all the percentage probabilities that you can. But if they're watching the game and the guy looks off or he looks tired or whatever, make that tactical decision then.
Joe Torre is in the Hall of Fame because of gut moves like that type of stuff, And
they might see things that, the analytics is what happened already.
yeah.
Now, I mentioned this on the show before. You know what's amazing? Every Major League Baseball game generates 7 terabytes of data.
Yeah.
A hard drive on a laptop today, a decent mid-range laptop, is 1 terabyte. The whole storage of the laptop is 1/7 of the data from a Major League Baseball game.
Yeah, there's a lot of pitches.
A lot of pitches. They measure the ball rotation 2,000 times per second with that with that Doppler radar, with the StatCast and the metrics and everything. They're coming up with incredible stats.
It's crazy.
And variable, and they look at all that. They crunch all that data into these big, we plot it out.
Supposedly now it's like 4 or 5 Harvard graduates just to read the data.
So, sometimes, yeah. I mean, I could visualize it. I use Alteryx, Python, SQL, and Tableau to visualize the data. And then I'm learning R now, which R is an old system, but R is very fast. So I looked at like 3 million different seismic changes in the Pacific, in like an earthquake zone in the Pacific,
Yep.
and R plotted it immediately. I had all the variables plotted. I could see when the peak times were. So
I have a question for you since you're a Met fan, diehard. And
Yep.
I'm a diehard Yankee fan.
Yep.
do you think Jeter deserved the unanimous vote? Or
Absolutely.
I,
Even as a Met fan, you gotta take your fan hat off and put on your objective baseball. That's why I wish the seating in the stadiums. I think you should have to take a test, right? And the people. It's not just based on money. You have to be able. You have to get the right to sit in the good seats. The drunken assholes that don't know shit about the game go upstairs.
no, those are the guys who know about the game. They just
No, they think they know. They're not coherent enough.
Yeah.
But the hardcore fan that's like objective, that's not going to beat the shit out of the fan next to him because he's wearing the other team's color. I'm nice to the fans in the other team's colors. I want them to go back to Atlanta or wherever the hell
And say those
and say
guys are nice
they're
guys.
so nice in New York.
And you know what? I'll be honest. As a baseball fan,
Yep.
I'm nice to those guys too.
Right.
Because I want to. My goal would be to go to every stadium to see a game.
And not have to be harassed.
Yeah. And
Yes.
You know what? I want to enjoy the game. Like if I go to Boston, I'm not wearing a Yankees shirt. It's just.
You should be able to though.
But there's
Shouldn't
no-
matter.
You know, if you go with if you're in that drunken area,
Right,
You know, you get
right.
one guy throws a beer at you,
Right.
You know,
Asshole.
You're three, yeah, exactly.
Right. I'm here to watch the game. These tickets are a lot of money now.
It's crazy.
I want to watch the game. Now, we were sitting next to. We went to the game when Pete Alonso broke the home run record,
Okay.
which was incredible. My kids begged me to go, and I'm like, I don't know if he's going to be in it tonight, and he did. And there were fans right next to us from Atlanta that applauded that achievement, which was nice. And well, what do they have to worry about? They're going to the postseason.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they said, "No, I'm not only a Met fan, I'm also a fat guy, right?" And then they said, "Well, where should we eat?" I'm like, "What kind of food do you want?"
Exactly.
And I'm pointing. All right, I'm on like the Excelsior level, the 300 level. I'm like, what do you want? Okay, if you want a Mama's of Corona, best turkey sandwich, right field. I'm pointing to go down to one level, go over there, 2 levels, go over there. Then they said the best pizza in the stadium is in center field, right out there, $10. And I'm like, and if you want Pat LaFrida steak sandwich, $16 there and there. I'm pointing.
That's the shameful part of baseball.
The food is expensive.
Crazy.
Did you hear about these crickets, these lime-covered crickets that they sell in Seattle?
Yes.
And they sell out every night?
Sick.
Now, we're both fat guys.
I'm not eating a cricket.
Not eating a cricket.
I'm not eating a cricket. We're also, besides fat guys, we're also comedians. So I'm going to jump to the next topic.
Go ahead.
Justin Verlander.
Justin Verlander.
He picked up his Cy Young Award from 2019 at the annual
All right.
Baseball Writers Dinner. And he thought he was a comedian.
What did he do?
He made a comment of, I have to thank the Astros organization. Everyone knows they're above and beyond on the technological side. And CC was a little upset about it. Some
Really?
of the players got a little tiffed about it. You had some laughter,
Yeah.
had some booze, and some of the players were pissed about it.
Now, you know what's... You mentioned fandom of the other teams, right? You mentioned Sabathia. So, even though I'm a Met fan, I'm a Sabathia fan.
Okay.
Why am I a Sabathia fan? Fat guy that can pitch.
Yep.
Bartolo Colon, see Sabathia. The only time I went to Yankee Stadium, my friend's like, "Oh, come, I want to show you the stadium. I want you to come with me to Yankee Stadium." I'm like, "What the frick do I want to go to Bronx for?" I said, "I don't have a gun, but
don't need a gun.
you don't need a gun. Not safe." I'm kidding, but the Bronx used to be shit.
Yeah.
But we went up there. He wanted to show me the state. He had season tickets, so we went. And I said, well, "I want to go on a night Sabathia pitches." So at least I could see Sabathia in person.
Okay.
Now, I also saw Sabathia. I went to a Met-Yankee game at Citi Field, and then I didn't want Sabathia to win.
Of course.
But it was cool to see him pitch,
He's he's a good guy, man. I'm a big Sabathia fan.
I'm a
I hope
Sabathia
he gets
fan.
into the Hall as well.
He's gonna make it.
Maybe not first ballot, but
And I felt bad from the way his career kind of. That was sad to see him leave with the injury, and that's his last.
Yeah.
That's not. That was.
But you know what? As an athlete, I was listening to it today. They were talking about Kobe, how being an athlete, you always die for that competitive edge.
Right.
So he made it a challenge to
Just to stay in the game and play.
to get out of the game and not have the want to go back.
Want to go back, right?
So that was his challenge. But CC, I would, as a player, they always have regrets. So he knew he was done and let him go off. He got the surgery, and he's there.
Now you have to pick a celebrity that we're going to call to do the weather report. We have to do the weather report before we go off the air.
Let's do. Can we do George W?
We did them last week
Okay.
or the week before.
How about?
I should have told you that. I didn't even think to make a list of.
All right. Let's do. You want to do this one?
No, I don't do him anymore.
Okay. Let's do Bloomberg. He's running for mayor. The commercials are out. Call up Mayor Bloomberg.
All right, we're gonna get. Wait, did I ever do Bloomberg as the weather? I think we.
All right,
did.
you pick one.
No, maybe I should, right?
Pick
Because I know who
something,
we've
Jack.
done. Let's do. Shit, I know we did Darth Vader last week. I really should be better organized at this segment, don't you think?
You got to get more impressions.
I'm gonna do Jack Palance.
Okay.
Remember Batman?
I do.
Okay.
Massapequa weather. Partly cloudy with a low around 32. Wind chill. Values between 25 and 30. It's going to be cold. 9 miles per hour wind. Mostly sunny tomorrow with a high near 42. Wind chill between 25 and 35. Northwest wind 8 to 15 miles per hour. Wednesday, it gets sunny, Fat J, with a high near 39. It's above freezing. Thankfully.
Jack Palance
That's a good one.
with the weather.
That's a good one.
Not bad.
Jack, thanks for calling in with the weather, buddy.
Were you a fan of the Batman movies?
I wasn't.
No?
I'm not a movie guy.
Not a movie guy.
I'll tell you why. I get smoked out before.
What do you mean?
I smoke marijuana.
Oh.
So I smoke like a lot to get my money's worth and enjoy it. And then I go in,
I
get
see.
half a bucket of popcorn. You could ask John Butera about my popcorn intake.
Okay.
So once I start eating them, then I get tired and I fall asleep if there's like any boring part. So I'm not a big
You fall
movie
asleep
guy.
at the movies? You fall asleep in the movies?
I do. I haven't gone. The last movie I saw, I think, was. Man.
You a Star Wars fan?
No.
No? I went to see Star Wars, and they have
You know
those
what movie I could watch
recliners.
all the time?
What?
Major League.
It was just on the other day.
It was Major League 2 too.
So I have a.
MLB Network.
I coach Little League, and I have a Mets jersey with number 34.
Oh, my
Because 34, Lou Brown.
Yep.
And I was like, we won yesterday. We won today. If we win tomorrow, that's called a winning streak. It has happened before.
Those are great movies.
That's a terrible Lou Brown impression.
You could no, that was.
I'd have to work
You
on
can
it.
work it, but you're almost there. I like when he's in the hospital.
Oh, yeah.
On the bed.
I love this English crap.
I'm a big fan.
Major League, those were good baseball movies. You know what's funny? The baseball movies are usually good. You had the one with the kid who was the pitcher, Rookie of the Year.
Year to year.
Those were good. The football movies is the only really good one is Draft Day, and
Any Given Sunday was.
I gave my little league team that speech. We were down 6-2 in the last inning. We had 3 outs to go. We won that game 7-6.
Do you still coach?
Hopefully, yeah. I don't know if I'm going to get a coaching spot this year. Very competitive. But I said, let me tell you guys, you have to fight for that inch. The man next to you will fight for that inch. And they won that game. That Al Pacino speech works.
That's a big motivational speech.
I
do
left-
that in sales things.
You do?
Yeah.
I left out the part that I'm a middle-aged man that made every mistake in the book. I lost all my money gambling. You know, I left that out. That's too heavy for 6-year-olds.
Yeah,
you know,
they don't need
well,
that.
8-year-old, whatever
But
they
if you
were.
coach, let me know. I'll come down and support.
Definitely. Hopefully, you know what? I got to fill out the application tonight for the coaching thing. And Mr. Producer is wrapping us up. This has been a very fun episode of the radio. We covered some educational aviation topics, and we had some fun too. Serious, funny, we're everything.
Mike Francesa called in. Who's better than that?
I thought he was going to explode.
Back after this.
So, how did you like being here on the radio?
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. I love everything you do, and I love Strong Island Television, Strong Island Radio.
Thank you for coming in.
Producer Bobby.
Bobby's the best producer. I love
Vice
Bobby.
President, Joanna. I've been on her show. I've been on a bunch of shows. I love Strong Island Television. They're just good people, great studio.
Great
equipment,
studio.
And they're fat people friendly here.
And they're fat friendly, right? The chairs are big enough for the fat guys.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you very much, everybody. Next week, we'll be back with another episode. Eric Haft is the special guest co-host.
Wow.
Next week, I got Eric Haft.
He's big.
He's big. I was very, very lucky to get Eric
I hope he
Haft.
brings you some barbecue.
I love barbecue.
I heard he's a barbecue.
He's amazing, and we're going to have a blast. We have a blast. I like to bring in a different special guest co-host with different backgrounds. And, because it keeps it fresh for the audience. They get to hear a lot of different people. And, city comics are welcome to come if you're going to schlep out here to Massapequa. We'd love to have you on the show. And I think we're getting the signal we're done. Thank you very much. Tune in next week to another episode of John Santos, The Radio.